Welcome to NTN Nightly. I am Janelle Norville. This edition's top stories. The Ministry of Health and Wellness ensures consistent access to COVID-19 vaccines. The NTRC concludes the first of 3 annual Summer Tech trainings. And the Ministry of Agriculture welcomes another cohort of certified farmers. The Ministry of Health and Wellness continues efforts to ensure St. Lucia achieves herd immunity. The island is soon to receive the 3rd batch of vaccines from the COVAX facility. Health officials, noting a slight decline in the uptake of the vaccine, especially the 2nd dose, is urging members of the public to get both doses as this ensures full protection. We have more in this report. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is continuing a robust national vaccination campaign the island over. Health officials continue to assess the uptake of the vaccine and indicate that the highest uptake is noted among the 50 years and up age group, followed by those 25 to 49 years of age, and the lowest being amongst individuals 18 to 24 years of age. Assistant Principal Nursing Officer and Immunization Manager Tekla Jean-Baptiste explained that this is consistent with both the 1st and 2nd doses of the vaccine.
It is also noted that the 2nd dose uptick is about 71% of that of the 1st dose, bearing in mind that we probably have approximately 14%, which is just about roughly 4,000 persons. 3,990 persons to date who are not yet due for their 2nd shot, taking into consideration the 10 weeks interval between vaccines. But it has also been noted that we still have a significant amount of people, a significant proportion of persons, about 29% of persons who would have received their 1st dose, who have not taken their 1st dose of the vaccine, their 2nd dose of the vaccine. In light of this, an appeal goes out to persons who have not taken their 2nd dose of the vaccine to do so. Being partially vaccinated, of course, with 1 dose of the vaccine will not afford the full protection that the vaccine affords.
Speaking to the stock management of vaccines, the immunization manager explained that St. Lucia has received 3 main shipments of vaccines, 2 of which were from the allocated number of vaccines through the COVAX facility and 1 shipment donated by the government of India. The allocation from the COVAX facility was to cover 20% of the population. St. Lucia Jean-Baptiste explained awaits the 3rd installment of vaccines from the COVAX facility, which has been delayed due to a number of reasons, including vaccine logistics and limited supply. She assured, however, that this does not affect the immunization of the public.
For the immunization program, it's not a significant concern, especially at a time when we note slow uptake of the vaccine. The spacing of the arrival of vaccine shipments to St. Lucia has allowed sufficient time for use of our stock before the next major shipment arrives in country. 2 of the previous batches of vaccines that we would have received had expiration dates of June 2021. As at the 30th of June 2021, there were no doses of vaccines from these batches left at our central stores. What this means is that whatever doses of these batches of vaccines that were still here would have been in circulation at the various health centers and vaccination sites, and these would have been used up to the last day of the vaccine shelf life, which is the expiration date.
Remaining stock of vaccines at central stores will expire in 2 months' time. The Ministry of Health and Wellness continues to plan accordingly.
The immunization program, and by extension, the Ministry of Health, continues to carefully plan its vaccine logistics to ensure that wastage is reduced or is at minimal when an expiration date comes, especially with vaccines that have very short shelf lives, such as the COVID-19 vaccine and also the influenza vaccines. The same holds for all other vaccines in the program. The program holds strongly to the first in, first out principle. What this means for us in the immunization program is that every effort is made to use up vaccines with earlier expiration dates first to avoid wastage. In some instances, it means collecting vaccines from facilities with excess stock on hand and redistribute amongst the facilities, especially to areas where the uptake is highest.
The third installment of vaccines from the COVAX facility is expected late July into early August. The National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC's Universal Service Fund Office, recently concluded its first of 3 face-to-face coding courses as part of its annual Summer Tech training. Jessie Leo shares scenes from the National ICT Office, where on the final day participants were recognized for their performance that week.
The annual Summer Tech training hosted by the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC, this year introduces participants aged 15 to 19 years old to the high-level programming language Python. Python can be used for several purposes, from web development to data science, machine learning, and robotics. Course facilitator Keegan Patrick says the first training held in Castries was successful, as all participants were able to utilize the language by the end of the week-long engagement.
They've really been very receptive. The group of students that I've had, they've been really interested. They've always been on time, and they've really tried to grasp as much as they can in the short space of time that they've been given. It's actually been really difficult for me. I have to choose who's the best student, and I find everybody's been at such a high level that it's difficult for me even to choose who's first, second, and third right now.
Participant Tristan Haynes is a 17-year-old information technology student at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. He appreciates the NTRC training and says Python is much easier than the programming language he used previously.
NTRC has provided me, not just me, but like those other students with the opportunity to learn something new, learn different coding languages, and get familiar with the whole Python language. So I think that will help me with my career choices much easier, and it will benefit me as a student and benefit me as a learning student of Python and programming, so I can be better at it. We moved from something called QBasic, I think it's language C, to Python, and the change is not that drastic. It's a little bit easier, so I think it's better for me.
The Summer Tech training is in its 5th year, funded through the NTRC's Universal Service Fund. Fund Administrator Sandra Jones says this year's program will continue with face-to-face courses for 15 to 19-year-olds at the Viewfort ICT office and the Sufra Community Access Center in the coming weeks. In addition, she says anyone can participate in the online version of the course.
Apart from the face-to-face engagement, we're also conducting this course online. So it's also available to persons throughout the month of August online. And the age range is open. Whereas the face-to-face is 15 to 19 years, it's open to all persons online. But there is a registration process online as well, our website, the NTRC's website, where they can go on and log in and register to participate in the online. And it's all free.
The deadline for registration for the online version is 23rd July 2021. The Castries leg of training held at the National ICT Office concluded with a brief award ceremony where certificates of participation were issued, as well as prizes for outstanding participants. For the Government Information Service, I am Jessie Leonce reporting.
The Ministry of Agriculture welcomes another cohort of certified farmers into the fold. Anicia Antoine reports.
The 5-week training program for agricultural regions 1 to 1 to 7 exposed farmers to updated agricultural practices which are likely to improve farming processes. Good agricultural practices, cultivation management and pesticide use, post-harvest technologies, record keeping and marketing, and business planning were among other fundamental topics covered. Permanent Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, Barrymore Felicia, in encouraging farmers to network and strengthen relationships among themselves, says that the full benefits of this recent farmer training program can only be realized if knowledge sharing remains at the forefront of farmers' agendas. According to him, education and attitude are two critical characteristics for success in the agricultural industry.
With education and attitude, perhaps you can get to good agricultural practices. But if you want to distinguish yourself, I say you have to get to great agricultural practices. You have to put a capital GG on that. So you have to distinguish yourself and take that and learn. You have to evolve as a farmer, evolve as a businessman, evolve as a person if you want to succeed and have a premium product in this market, to distinguish yourself and to add value to what you produce.
Ambassador of the Taiwan Embassy to St. Lucia, His Excellency Peter Cheyenne Chen, in extending his congratulatory message to graduates, encouraged farmers to take advantage of all the opportunities provided by the 7 Crops project.
In order to promote local production and consumption, the government of Taiwan has been working with the government of St. Lucia to promote the 7 important crops on a sustainable basis since 2019. Every successful project comes down to people. That's why this training program are one of the most critical parts of the 7 Crops project.
To date, over 250 farmers have been certified through the enhancement of the efficiency of production distribution supply chains in the fruits and vegetable sector project. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Anicia Anton reporting.
The Department of Education, Innovation and Gender Relations wishes to inform parents and guardians of students who sat the 2021 Common Entrance Examinations that results for the exams will be released on Wednesday, 21st July 2021 at 10:30 a.m. As is customary, the presentation of overall results will be first made to district education officers and principals, and then results will be presented to students by their respective schools. As a result of the ongoing challenges with the COVID-19 pandemic, this year's presentation will be made via Zoom to all districts and will be streamed via the Department of Education's Facebook pages. Analysis of overall student performance and performance by institution and subject area will be disclosed at Wednesday's presentation, as well as the way forward for the Common Entrance Examinations. This year, a total of 2,148 students sat the exams, of which 1,058 are male and 1,185 are female. The Evaluation and Assessment Unit of the Department of Education, Innovation and Gender Relations thanks you for your patience and apologizes for any inconvenience which may result from the decision to execute an online presentation. CARICOM heads of government conclude 42nd regular meeting with several agreements. We get the details from CARICOM News Times to Sanking English Francis.
They agreed to revive interregional travel, reinvigorate the CSME, and continue the advocacy for equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. Prime Minister Gaston Brown of Antigua and Barbuda assumed the leadership of the community as of July 1st and chaired a meeting. He took over the reins of the community from Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley.
At the outset, I want to thank my predecessor as chair of the community, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, for his tireless efforts on behalf of the region during his term as chairman. I applaud in particular his persistent efforts in pursuit of life-saving vaccines for the region, which has borne some fruit. Thank you very much, Prime Minister Rowley. I must also convey profound appreciation to our outgoing Secretary General, Ambassador Erwin LaRock, for his sterling service to our community during a most difficult period. Estri, your contribution to improving the lives of our citizens while maintaining a cool head in the midst of turbulent times and remaining focused on the job at hand is a legacy of which you can be justifiably proud.
CARICOM heads of government maintain that the single market and economy is critical to rebuild and transform regional economies in the post-COVID-19 era. They reiterated their commitment to achieve full implementation of the CSME with the understanding that it requires urgent action by community organs, cabinet of member states, the CARICOM Secretariat, the private sector, and other stakeholders.
A special meeting of the Council for Trade and Economic Development will be held urgently to consider proposals for immediate action on CSME implementation. Earlier this afternoon, we also interacted with the private sector and civil society as we continue our practice of including all stakeholders in the work of the community.
That was Chair of CARICOM and Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown. CARICOM member states continue to face constant threats to lives, livelihoods, and infrastructure. Natural disasters such as the recent passage of Hurricane Elsa and the eruption of the La Sofia volcano, coupled with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, have had debilitating effects on economies in the region. CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Erwin LaRocque at the July 5 opening of the 42nd regular meeting of CARICOM heads of government reflected on the struggles currently faced by CARICOM member states. He highlighted the importance of the resuscitation of economies and building a more resilient community.
It is our duty to fortify our community against the factors that threaten its viability and the sustainable well-being of our people. That is a priority which not only has brought us here at this time, but which is the driving force of our integration movement. It is also the priority that has engaged me as Secretary General over the past decade, along with making the integration movement a lived experience for the citizens of CARICOM. To help achieve this, we have embarked on much needed community reform. This task has been guided in large measure by the community's first ever strategic plan, which is built on the resilience model.
CARICOM's strategic plan developed over the last decade has harnessed the strengths of stakeholders, including youth, public and private sector entities. The plan focuses largely on human resource development and the advancement of the free movement of people through the CSME.
That strategy and its accompanying action plan provides for a globally competitive, innovative, and seamlessly integrated education system to drive inclusive, sustainable development in our region. A major vehicle driving that development is the CARICOM single market and economy. A lot of time and effort have been spent putting in place policies, programs, and systems for the private sector, labor, and the overall population to benefit from the CSME. The categories of free movement of skills have been expanded. A protocol outlining the rights of spouses and dependents who accompany the skilled worker to another member state has been agreed. New business opportunities have been created. A public procurement protocol opening a market estimated at $5 billion for businesses within member states of the CSME has been signed.
A part of the Human Resource Development Plan 2030 is the liberalization of the aviation sector through the Multilateral Air Services Agreement. The Secretary General said he expects as more airlines make use of the agreement, it will allow for greater choice of movement throughout the CARICOM and contribute to the lowering of airfares.
These are but some examples of what has been put in place within the last decade for the people of our community to be able to realize the benefits of the CSME as a lived experience. Other steps have been made to buttress the welfare of the people of the community. There has been progress in greater cooperation among member states to combat crime in the community, as well as building a legal architecture. 3 major legal instruments were agreed to in this regard. I refer to the CARICOM Arrest Warrant Treaty, the treaty with respect to return and sharing of recovered assets from criminal activity, and the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty. These treaties provide the regional law enforcement and justice systems with the tools to engage those whose criminal activities respect no borders.
The Secretary General announced that reform is also being undertaken at the CARICOM Secretariat to improve its flexibility, effectiveness, and efficiency. This is NTN Nightly. Up next, Primus Hutchinson with the NTN Nouvelle Creole.
COVID-19 is a new pandemic disease as declared by the World Health Organization. It is transmitted directly by respiratory droplets when an infected person coughs or sneezes, or indirectly through rubbing the face with contaminated hands. There is still no specific treatment or vaccine against COVID-19, and as such, the farming community should adhere to some special recommendations. Ensure that farm clothing and gear is clean. Wash hands thoroughly before harvesting crops. Use face masks and head ties whilst harvesting, cleaning, and packaging crops. Use all safety precautions when transporting crops to the markets and depots, such as handling crates and crops with only clean hands and covering sneezes and coughs with a tissue or the inner arm to ensure body fluids or droplets don't get on produce, and washing hands or using hand sanitizer after using the tissue. More than ever before, your important role as gatekeepers of St. Lucia's nutritional, health, and food security should be taken seriously. When you exercise these precautions, you not only safeguard your health, but also continue to allow all St. Lucians access to freshly grown fruits, vegetables, and other local crops. Remember, it is our responsibility to ensure our nation eats fresh, St. Lucia's best.
Welcome back. We join Primus Hutchinson for the NTN Nouvelle Creole.
Monsieur Janelle, Monsieur, Madame, département, qui nous responsabilité pour information. Un gouvernement celui-ci, ça c'est GIS, ça c'est depuis Télévision Nationale PA NTN, qui a présenté Nouvelle en Creole, présenté Primus Hutchinson. Comme PA, qui arrive plus près date pour l'élection 2021. Pour les gens promettent pour pas refuser application pour ces divers partis politiques, sa chaîne activité en paroisse eux-mêmes. Mais les autorités qui ont renforcé compliance pour protocole des maladies corona en ces activités en préparation pour l'élection. Assistant chef officier au département de l'environnement santé, Cheryl Eugene Saint-Romain, fait comprendre la nécessité pour tout le monde obéir pour chaîne 6 pieds de distance entre l'un à l'autre. Et qu'après, ces candidats et l'autre monde qui a servi podium là fini présentation, tous ces équipements ont servi comme micro et l'autre supposé trouver nettoyer et sanitize. Ça c'est après chaque monde servi. Madame Saint-Romain dit aussi, il est très important pour ces gens qui ont semblé pour ces activités politiques là, faire qu'occuper pour chaîne 6 pieds de distance entre l'un à l'autre. Nettoyer la main et bien sanitize avec l'autre précaution qui est nécessaire. Ces organisateurs ont plané pour placer un warden, les ça possible, pour poursuivre bonne direction et pour obéir ces règles-là pour ces gagnants qui ont en ces activités. Ça c'est pour le reste en direction. Tout le monde qui a pris coup seulement à ces paroisses-là même. Chef police Milton Daisy qui a conseillé pour eux tous qui ont participé à ces rallyes politiques pour obéir ces règles contre Corona. Ça c'est pendant qu'ils ont participé à ces activités élections. Chef police là aussi mentionné l'auto passager et l'autre l'auto qui a chaillé moun à ces activités ça là ni pour chailler seulement c'est les mots moun qui sont supposé ni à bord l'auto. Ça veut dire si c'est 10 moun, c'est 10 moun en rien en haut ça. Il dit aussi les individus pas supposé sembler dehors c'est l'auto ça là avant et après ils débattent. Chef police l'a dit aussi, c'est l'auto passager ni pour essayer pour chailler moun qui sorti dans même caille et pour tout l'auto conduit à dans une ligne et pas vis-à-vis de l'autre. Madame Saint-Romain qui a conseillé l'agence politique là qui a visité Kayakai pour changer pour obéir 6 pieds de distance avec pièce papier qui a porté information pour placer à une place côté ces résidents même ça amassé. Toute activité politique n'est pour observer ces règles là qui sont en place. s'assurer de sanitize, laver la main, changer 6 pieds de distance, etc. Et toute activité ni pour bout yon de temps avant curfew. Ministère de Santé, récemment, bienvenue un cadeau de 7 équipements protection contre maladie corona. Ça a été fait par l'association docteur en pays Caraïbes. Ces équipements de protection personnelle là, qui ont été distribués pour diverses organisations pour aider les gommer contre maladie corona. Secrétaire permanent au ministère de la Santé, Benson Emile, remercie aux frontières gratitude pour l'organisation à ce compte ministère de la Santé pour tous ces cadeaux là et qu'à quoi relation ça là qui duré longtemps après maladie Covid disparaître. Monsieur Emile dit que quand le ministère ses responsabilités pour supporter toute institution et toute agence gouvernement et aussi ça qui pas un gouvernement protection contre corona. Et c'est raison qui fait ministère ni besoin ces protections ça là à toutes les. Secrétaire général pour l'association les docteurs Caraïbes Kit Compton déclaré que l'organisation ni commitment pour entretenir collaboration médicale et puis celle-ci excellente cette pays Caraïbes et dit que il te plaît pour ça présenter 30 000 masques pour le ministère de la Santé et qui a ça vraiment faire l'autre contribution même si c'est pas association même mais l'hôpital de l'université Martinique et Guadeloupe association docteur Caraïbes fait ministère de la Santé avec 30 000 masques. Ambassadeur Setlisi est représentatif permanent en organisation de Stats de pays l'Amérique, ça c'est OAS. Ça c'est M. Anton Edmonds, si un agrément à ce code Setlisi et puis OAS là, pour bienvenue une mission d'observation pour observer l'élection à Setlisi. Secrétaire général OAS là, Louis Almarago, si à ce code OAS là, les représentatifs OAS là supposé voyager pour Setlisi le 21 juillet et quitter Setlisi le 29 juillet 2021. Et c'est comme ça, nous avons votre nouvelle là. Je vais vous autant pour regarder, je vais vous une invitation pour que je considère que ça fait la vie. Je vais vous une autre nouvelle à quoi. Après ça, je vais vous cette journal.
Merci Apple Primus. That brings us to the end of NTN Nightly. Join us next time at 7 p.m. with a repeat at 7 a.m. You can also catch up with us anytime on the St. Lucia Government Facebook page or YouTube channel. I am Janelle Norville.